Royalty is now a dusty cherry on an imperial cake, left stranded as the empires receded, superfluous to requirements, and so stale and tasteless, an air once let slip, "I don't want to be king." Yet it persists, like an unlanced boil in the body politic, a musky legacy of accumulated atrocities, persistently cognizant of the sinister advice of James I's Chancellor: democracy is the deadliest enemy to a monarchy.
Where's north from here?
The strikers, Scottish miners reinforced by men from northeast England and Yorkshire, withdrew.
It's said that you should be careful for what you wish for.
Removing a cancer.
Totting up the family's monumental mountains of wealth, turning them into a people's portfolio. Start with royal property and acres in South Carolina, Petrus vineyards in France, all over Britain and throughout London, and richest family in Europe, Guelph. From the Guelphs, this family's descent. On a state visit to Canada, the Duke property said Canada was, thanks to good invest Canada, Australia, East, and Africa, New Zealand, and much more, thanks to the device heads of state of England nominees buy shares secretly, unlimited global assets, 2 small islands, large tract, flies in the face of all natural justice, diamonds, Rembrandt stocks hidden behind surrogate names, crowns a halo to say you can't touch, swindling citizens into becoming subjects, to find out only Swiss mechanisms or in the Bahamas used to track down the proceeds of crime would provide basic income as their guaranteed birthright. Instead of the royal nest egg, the rights of man. Tom Paine first floated the idea of basic income. It was taken up don't have a society if it's run by spivs and shysters. Do people actually live here? Don't you know who said Princess Margaret as the royal party passed through Peterhead. So she left, without ever returning. When a comprehensive inventory has been done, secrecy being dissolved, assets being worth 1,000 billion, has 10,000 a year for life, wind farms, electricity, enrich people power. Arthur's Round Table. Oh, it's fraudulent. Oh, it's fraudulent.
Let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God.
But while the UK's fake democracy shells out 100 million year in and year out for royalty's upkeep, Michael Fagan, who once broke into the Queen's bedroom, is celebrated in subversive songs as a hero. And it's significant that Iceland, Bermuda, Puerto Rico and others are happy, not only without an indulgent royal family, but they also manage without having armed forces at all. No armies, nor any monarchs to extol violence. Sir Henry Kissinger, knighted by the Queen, has said, "Military men are damn stupid animals, to be used as pawns for foreign policy." And, like dutiful puppets, the Queen's soldiers are fed into US infernos. The United States of profiteers from perpetual wars is an ally, and whenever any of its plutocratic presidents yells out for cannon fodder for any of its imperial ventures, Little Britain subjects its citizens to the US's death wish. "I don't dislike babies, though I think very young ones rather disgusting," said Queen Victoria, despite her imposing her multiple offspring on the country, who've made many of England's finest spirits throw up. The shades of Wat Tyler, of John Ball, Jack Cade and William Morris, of William Blake and Thomas Paine, of Mary Wollstonecraft, and Shelley and Gerard Winstanley, all daily gag at monarchy's repugnance. How far kingships declined in a child's eyes can be gathered from Richard the Lionheart in Robin Hood's time.
England, in the gallant days when history hung on the flight of an arrow or the slash of a sword, when feudal barons ravaged the countryside to live in pomp and splendor, when one man alone dared challenge the might of his country's oppressors. Robin Hood, outlaw of Sherwood Forest, and his stalwart band, robbing the rich to feed the poor, ready to fight for king, for country.
From Richard the Lionheart, who, whether true or false, stood for a just and fair England.
King Edward put the stud there, but it isn't a profitable venture at the moment, and one always has perhaps the gambling instinct that one's horse is going to be better than the next man's horse, and that's why one goes on doing it. In my grandmother's day, there would never have been any ivy anywhere. She had a passionate hatred for it.
A far cry from cold landlords and profiteers. A far cry from the current reincarnations of King John, with his sheriff's hands in the till, from the tormentors of bears, birds, and wild boar, from fox hunters slashing horses and shooting stags, glorified abattoir attendants dressing up their warfare state in military tat.
Taxes! Taxes! Beautiful, lovely taxes!
Grisly accumulators of diamonds and gold and weapons, judicial killers whose bejeweled fingers sign death warrants without a second thought for the consequences.
Power.
I never wonder to see men wicked, said Jonathan Swift, but I often wonder to see them not ashamed. Yet thanks to the wonder of Hanoverian haughtiness, the word sorry loses its way before finding the royal lips. This other Eden, Shakespeare wrote in Richard II, this demi-paradise, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, this blessed plot, this earth, this England. Shakespeare would now see a monarchy empty of atmosphere, with its magnetic pole shifted elsewhere, a royalty changed to heritage showbiz for the dull-witted, peddling packets of crested Dutchy biscuits.
Dutchy Originals, one of the UK's leading organic and free-range brands, was founded by the Prince in 1990.
We're going to extend the range from about 200 lines today to about 500 lines.
Really proud moment as far as I'm concerned, because Waitrose, which is one of the great British stores, I think, and sets a marvellous example.
While hiding haughty tycoons, nonces, and bloodthirsty oafs, who take out their sorry inadequacies on creatures they judge to be their inferiors, if not vermin, while they themselves live off the labour of centuries.
Get back. I'm alright, Jack. Keep your hands off of my stack. Money.
Square cut or pear-shaped.
When the East India Company defeated the Maharaja of Punjab, the company presented to Queen Victoria the largest diamond ever to be discovered in the world. It was called the Koh-i-Noor. Later, Queen Victoria would take a sadistic pleasure in displaying the Koh-i-Noor to the Maharaja's heir on his visiting Buckingham Palace, and he would leave muttering, "Mrs. Fagin."
Why should we break our backs stupidly paying tax? Better get some untaxed income, better pick a pocket or two. You gotta pick a pocket or two, boys. You gotta pick a pocket or two.
The criminal Fagin's profession in Dickens's Oliver Twist was as a receiver of stolen property. But unlike royalty, who received stolen property with impunity, Fagin's career would prove shorter-lived. Fagin was hanged at Newgate for his accumulated wealth, whereas the Queen continues to benefit from assets which were once stolen from Simon de Montfort and are now administered by the Duchy of Lancaster. De Montfort was a rebel who wished to expand democracy by undermining the power of the monarch, but such democratic concerns were rewarded by execution and the confiscation of his property by the Crown. However, de Montfort's corpse still produces dividends from his 20,000 acres in Merseyside the Crown seized, and further lands in Yorkshire, worth 72 million to the Queen, are exempted from capital gains and corporation tax. The Crown also benefits handsomely from what's quaintly known as the Duchy's Bona Vacantia and Bastardy funds, a medieval mechanism whereby the Queen inherits the estates of all those in the Duchy dying intestate. Thus, the Royal Fund would do surprisingly well as a result of the deaths of widows of soldiers who were killed in the Second World War. For their property would go to the very people who'd sent them to die. In the year 2000, more than £2.1 million was thus gleaned for Her Majesty the Queen's private income from 276 people from Merseyside and Lancashire. They'd made no will, so their property was grabbed. The estates of war veterans, the estates of the intestate, and also the proceeds of 232 companies dissolved in the year 2000, their assets went to this lovable Queen, a billionairess with an income from grave robbing. And the same is true for the Duchy of Cornwall. If you die without making a will, everything you possess will go to Prince Charles, to a billionaire biscuit maker plus Duchess. The threadbare convention that it's unfair to attack such a family is altogether redundant, for they answer back continuously and perfectly plainly with an untouchable mountain of money.
In this case, all that glitters is gold. 22-carat gold being cast at the Royal Mint into regal sovereigns. At 1300 degrees centigrade, it pours like tea, but it soon sets into solid bars, which are assayed for correct composition before being stamped with the mint's mark. Before your mouth starts watering, we'd better tell you that this beautiful gold will never find its way into your pocket, nor anybody else's. The Mint is striking £1 million worth of these sovereigns, but they're not going into circulation. They're all to be put away as part of the nation's gold reserve.
Welcome back to Honest News Network. Well, I've got some actual evidence, folks. I've got some proof that Prince Harry admits, he's actually admitting that the royalty is actually fake. And he says he has to learn how to balance the royalty in reality. Well, my take on that is, how can you balance reality with something else? I mean, it's all reality or it's fake, right? So what he's saying is he's got to come to terms of what is real and what's not real, and he's admitting that royalty is fake. It's all a show, the whole thing. And so I'm going to play a clip for you, let you hear this for yourself. And then he also admits that the whole thing, he considers it to be magic. It's magic. That's what he says. So let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and play this clip for you.
Now with that revealing interview with Prince Harry, the fifth in line to the throne, opening up to Newsweek about his mother, about Meghan Markle, and much, much more. And you know who's here? Diane Macedo is here. She's got more details for us. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning to you also. This is a side of the royals we've never seen before. Prince Harry not only says no one wants to be king or queen, but he's also speaking out about his mother's funeral and unveiling new plans to change the monarchy.
This morning, Prince Harry gets candid, telling Newsweek that his family doesn't relish being royal. We're involved in modernizing the British monarchy. We're not doing this for ourselves, but for the greater good of the people. Is there anyone of the royal family who wants to be king or queen? I don't think so, but we will carry out our duties at the right time. The 32-year-old admits that he tries to keep a balance between royalty and reality, and thanks his mother, Princess Diana, for showing him how. Even if I was king, I would do my own shopping.
He said several times to me that he wanted to be something other than Prince Harry.
Newsweek reporter Angela Levin spent nearly a year with the prince and says that royal spotlight has also impacted his relationship with girlfriend Meghan Markle.
You know, they meet sort of brief, intense days, so it's difficult. They don't have what one would call a normal relationship where you just go out with someone. It's got to be secret.
Harry also expressed anger at having to be so public when dealing with his mother's death. Looking back, Harry says, I had to walk a long way behind her coffin, surrounded by thousands of people watching me while millions more did on television. I don't think any child should be asked to do that under any circumstances. I don't think it would happen today.
I lost my mum when I was 12, so emotions were locked away very, very early.
But the prince still sees the importance of the British monarchy, saying we don't want to dilute the magic. The British public and the whole world needs institutions like it, and he's now focusing that magic on helping others.
Talking about mental health is best for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are.
Joining William and Kate in the Heads Together charity, which brings awareness to mental health issues.
We do not want prejudice and fear to stand in the way of people getting the help that they need.
Inspired by his mom, it started a healing process for Harry himself, who's been very vocal about his own struggles.
I think she would be proud of the campaign, proud of everybody involved, proud of us.
And Harry says he and William and Kate don't just want to show up to charity events and wave. They want to really be involved and make a difference. And he admits that he still has a naughty streak, but he says he thinks that that now helps him to relate to other people that may have gotten themselves into trouble. So using those powers for good now.
Yes.
They are, though. I mean, I'm telling you, he and William and Kate are doing so much for mental health and getting the word out. And
Yeah,
Diana's like, I love his voice.
Oh, yeah, I could just hear him go on and on. But they say that's how they're trying to modernize the monarchy in a way, to be, you know, maybe not as far spread, but more focused on the people they are in contact with.
It's more true to who they are.
Exactly.
All right, Diane, thank you.
So, very interesting. There's a lot being said in this segment, this little clip right here that we just watched. The powers, the magic, and it's not reality. So if it's not reality, and it has to do with magic, then they're hoodwinking somebody, right? It's a fraud. The whole thing's a fraud. And Harry knows it is. And he doesn't want to be a part of it. And even his brother said, I don't lose sleep at night wondering if I'm going to be king or not. When they talk about modernizing the monarchy, what they're really saying is they don't want to play the game. They don't want to, you know what I'm saying? They know they're just another family. That's what they know, the truth. And that's why Prince Harry was wearing the Nazi symbol on his arm, is because they know that they are fraud. They know that the family is not really royalty. They became royalty because they made themselves royalty because of money, because of wealth. And they came into Britain, and what they did is they basically bought up land. If you understand the truth about what happened, they actually bought a bunch of land up. They bought more land. They just kept buying land. And so what happened was it was a land grab. And they actually started calling themselves royalty. They started this. The people began to accept it, but they started it. And so they carried on, so to speak, a bloodline, but they're not really of the real bloodline of the royals. And so, yeah, they're just another family. And so Prince Harry and his brother, more so Prince Harry, that he doesn't want to play the game. He said himself, he says, if I was king, he said, I'd still go shopping. He said, I'd still buy my own groceries. So he understands that it's just a family. But what makes me kind of, take notice is when he says it's all about the greater good. When he talks about what we're doing here is for the greater good, that's troubling, because that's the mentality of the Illuminati. That's the mentality of the secret societies, that everything we do is for the greater good. Now, I will just mention one thing here having to do with his girlfriend. I do believe that it's possible that this whole thing could be an act. And the reason I say that is because she's an actress. And because he needs to renew his image, right? He's got to come back from that terrible image of being a racist. And so it's very possible that this what's going on right now. But the thing that's interesting is most of their public appearances are all charities. So they're not showing up like in photos and such. They're not showing up as, a couple that is on a date or whatever. Everything is about charity. And so it's very possible it's all PR, for the prince. And that it's possible that his girlfriend actually isn't his girlfriend at all, and that she actually is been hired by the royals, quote unquote royals, to boost his PR, or to make him look more like, royalty, quote unquote.
Meghan Markle had Hollywood dreams before becoming a royal. She's performed in both dramatic and comedic roles during her career, with her biggest and most recent part being Rachel Zane on the legal drama Suits. While her on-screen chemistry with Patrick J. Adams is what won her the part, her engagement to Prince Harry means both characters are bidding farewell to the show.
What are you still doing here?
It's
Nothing.
for Harvey. But we're done.
Good night.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Night.
Bye.
Suits wasn't Markle's first legal show. She got her start in television in 2004 with a series called Century City, with this one line.
Here's to Tom Montero, who had the vision to install this amazing virtual assistant.
Markle's first venture into film started with a 30-second role in A Lot Like Love. In The War at Home, Markle plays a hot insurance saleswoman.
Because you're just such a handsome, funny guy, and I'd like to fix you up with my mother. I may have slept with Grant Jordan, but I didn't kill him.
In 2006, Markle made an appearance on CSI Miami as a maid who becomes a suspect for a murder.
God, I miss him so much.
At the age of 27, she went on to play a promiscuous teenager in 90210. Markle scored her second role as a saleswoman on the sitcom Till Death. In the 2009 remake of Knight Rider, Meghan shows off her muscles in a boxing scene. As Markle's fame increased due to the success of Suits, she started landing leading roles, like this one in the romantic comedy Encounters.
You want to be a hooker on Hollywood Boulevard? Yes. No.
Markle nabbed a role in the short film The Kennedy.
You don't want to look at this one?
No, if it's unsolicited, it's a pass, no.
Yeah, but it's handwritten and it has a wax seal.
She also appeared in a very minor role in Remember Me, that her first husband, Trevor Engelson, actually produced. Markle began her Hallmark movie stint as a big city journalist in the film When Sparks Fly. Markle's last role, besides Suits, is another Hallmark film called The Dater's Handbook. She plays a woman who tries to date according to a set of rules in a self-help book. It seems the princess-to-be had a promising career, but she's trading it all in for a real-life fairy tale.
So that's my take on all of this. But I thought it was very troubling to hear them, well, not more interesting, because we know they're fake anyway. So it's more interesting that actually Harry's coming out and admitting that it's all fake, you know. But he did say it has to do with magic. And so we know that when anytime you're talking about magic, you're talking about Hollywood. You're talking about trickery. You're talking about, you know, how that Hollywood is able to make movies, you know, the magic of movies. And so that's what he's talking about when he says magic. In other words, their power and their magic is their influence that they have, and they're going to use that power. They're going to use that influence. And we know they're not going to use it for anything good. It's going to be all Antichrist, every bit of it, and it's going to prepare the way for the Antichrist. We know that without any question. And so we'll have to wait and see. But if the Queen does kick the bucket, we know that the next in line will be William, right? And I guess he would be the king. I guess that's how it works. Or her, I don't know how it works. I don't even really care, to be honest with you. But the point I'm trying to make here is they're trying to modernize the royal family. They don't want to continue on this fake Hollywood act. They don't want to continue this this whole fake thing. Anyway, I don't want to keep being repetitious. Anyway, so tell me what you think about this, folks. Leave your comments and let me know what you think. But I do believe that this was a very, very telling, piece right here for us to see. God bless you all.
Tom Paine said hereditary power was as implausible as having hereditary mathematicians, and Ben Franklin compared monarchy to the potato, since any goodness, like old kings and queens, lay underground. The initial role of a king, deriving from the word kindred, was once to be the tribe's highest common factor, but when virtues traded for war profiteering and the rest, then its bubble can be said to have burst. In The Ancient Mariner, Coleridge wrote of a man doomed by his having killed an albatross. A similar curse attaches to the ibis, the slow, celestial bird revered in hieroglyphs for changing the tides. In Egypt, the moon god Thoth would appear as an ibis, and with his wife Maat, Thoth made a cosmic egg. It was to feed the sun god with an harmonious essence, and its bounty would pervade and support creation. Eons later, a fake House of Windsor, a less magical fable, built on fly-blown genealogies, has to crumble, with its offspring being turned out of their gilded cages, allowing the wildlife they persecute to fly free. All things begin and end in Albion's ancient druid rocky shore. William Blake. Queen Elizabeth II, the largest landowner on earth. Queen Elizabeth II, head of state of the United Kingdom and of 31 other states and territories, is the legal owner of about 6,600 million acres of land, 1/6 of the Earth's non-ocean surface. At a rough estimate of $5,000 an acre, and based on the sale of Alaska to the USA by the Tsar, and of Louisiana to the USA by France, the Queen's landholding is worth a notional $33 trillion. Her holding is based on the laws of the countries she owns, and her land title is valid in all the countries she owns. Her main holdings are Canada, the second largest country on Earth, with 2,467 million acres, Australia, the 7th largest country on Earth, with 1,900 million acres, Papua New Guinea, with 114 million acres, New Zealand, with 66 million acres, and the UK, with 60 million acres. She is the world's largest landowner by a significant margin. The next largest landowner is the Russian state, with an overall ownership of 4,219 million acres and a direct ownership comparable with the Queen's landholding of 2,447 million acres. The third largest landowner is the Chinese state, which claims all of Chinese land, about 2,365 million acres. The fourth largest landowner on Earth is the federal government of the United States, which owns about 1/3 of the land of the USA, 760 million acres. The fifth largest landowner on Earth is the King of Saudi Arabia, with 553 million acres. Largest 5 personal landowners on Earth: Queen Elizabeth II, 6,600 million acres. King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, 553 million acres. King Bhumibol of Thailand, 126 million acres. King Mohammed IV of Morocco, 113 million acres. Sultan Qaboos of Oman, 76 million acres. From www.whoownstheworld.com. There is more stupidity than hydrogen in the world, and it has a longer shelf life. Frank Zappa. O Lord our God, arise, scatter her enemies, and make them fall. Confound their politics, frustrate their knavish tricks. On thee our hopes we fix. O Lord our God, arise, scatter her enemies, and make them fall. Confound their politics, frustrate their knavish tricks. On thee our hopes we fix. O Lord our God, arise, scatter her enemies, and make them fall. Confound their politics, frustrate their knavish tricks. On thee our hopes we fix. God save the Queen. For while behind any fortune there lurks a great crime,
we have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development.
But I do not spend my days prowling round the pigeonholes of the Ministry of Defense looking at the precise course of action.
On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance.
That ship was a danger to our boys. That's why that ship was sunk.
And we will accept no outcome but victory.
I know it was right to sink her, and I would do the same again.
this particular monarch is the beneficiary of dividends produced by an empire's corpse mountain, vast sums squirreled away without apology. It began with the royal namesake Elizabeth I licensing thieves to kit themselves out as predatory pirates for the purpose of raiding Spanish ships and plundering their contents, then bringing stolen gold to their pimping Gloriana. Thus, as Britain became rich, it wished to expand, using any pretext or deception to do so, such as declaring Ireland to be a barren wilderness, so its inhabitants could be swept aside. As a result, royal favourites would receive tracts of land as plantations for Britain's cash crops, with the language and rights of the local population suppressed and killed off by the crown.
So, let's take you first to the Bank of America mural.
There are 3 paintings that are prominently featured in the Bank of America Corporate Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. This fresco was created by artist Benjamin F. Long. Let's begin with one of the murals. In the final sequence of the murals, we see the surviving blue-collar population at the bottom. Notice there are 13 men working below to acquire the wealth of the elite. The shovels that they hold have heads that are rich gold in color, suggesting gold as the resource to secure. And by the way, 13 is the occult number. At the next level above the ground is the higher level educated skilled worker who is rebuilding the new world, while the elite giant is restfully sleeping above in the hills, suggesting his secret control. The picture suggests a rebuilding era due to the clean landscapes. This is the final era of the elite, after many on the earth have been eliminated and the new world is underway. In this mural, the back wall, as you'll notice, has a barbed wire, and the elite above are circling in alchemical flames in naked freedom and power, while being separated from the chaos below the net. Key characters in the crowd are hazmat and Marines carrying rifles. There is an active burning industrial building if you look in the background, suggesting a crematory. And you see to the right at the top the Nazi gold eagle and flags that are red, white, and blue, with blank street signs and protest signs that are blank, suggesting that the people have no voice and no answers. There's more details to the mural. In this mural, there is the Masonic checker floor as part of the landscape, along with the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryan youth in the Masonic heel-to-heel 90-degree stance, representing a new generation. The burning bush in the background is blowing exactly westward, indicating that the Western world is being burned. You see the close-up. The white male right next to the burning bush, wearing a red sweater and blue jeans and reading a book, is casually aware of the burning bush. Masonic rituals depict initiates, especially those of the 33rd degree, as revered and being near the burning bush. The woman inside a transparent cube is being drawn by the electromagnetic energy of the black sun at the top. Politicians are arguing their explanations. So, let's talk about in more detail the figure in the trench coat, the Prince, the Order of the Garter. A young boy is dressed in a long, dark, double-breasted trench coat, resembling Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, KG, born June the 21st, 1982. That is a significant date, as you will see later. He is the elder son of Charles, Prince of Wales, and the late Diana, Princess of Wales, and third eldest grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. He is the second in the line of succession behind his father. A clue that this depiction is Prince William are the wrinkles in his right coat sleeve that spell out William, as you can see below. In the mural, Prince William is wearing the Order of the Garter on his head, on his crest, and that is the crown crest, which is a gold lion, as in the Lion of the tribe of Judah. A near identical image of William at the bottom is found on the Denver Airport mural as well. And in that mural, he's holding an anvil that was a sword that is now representing peace. The Order of the Garter was founded by Edward III in 1348, known as the Black Prince. It will be 666 years of the Order's existence in the year 2014. And on June the 13th, 2011, in Windsor, England, Prince William was named the 1,000th member in over a 600-year period of the Order of the Garter. The Order of the Garter 8-pointed star is worn on the left breast, and it has a 13-stone ruby cross center. So, let's talk about Prince William and his lineage to King David. The Black Prince, King Edward III, was the very first Knight of the Garter. He comes directly from the lineage of King David, thereby qualifying him to be accepted by the rabbis as in the lineage of the Messiah. But he also comes from the lost tribe of Dan. Dan was the 5th son of Jacob, and the tribe is also represented by the 6-pointed star of David and a serpent. The marriage of Charles to Diana was extremely important because Diana brought one aspect of the Merovingian bloodline back to the English crown. In marrying Prince Charles, William is the first child to claim lineage from every English king who has left descendants. Prince William is not a confirmed Freemason, but has many Masonic relatives. Kings and dukes were Grand Masters of Masonic lodges. The last Grand Master, who rules the United Grand Lodge of England, is H.R.H. Duke of Kent, cousin of Queen Elizabeth II and uncle of Prince William. Now, as you look at the coat of arms at the bottom, H is in the left design and DN is in the right design. H represents the Black Prince, DN the Red Dragon, and together they can read, I, the Black Prince, serve the Red Dragon. And we know who the Red Dragon is. So, Prince Charles's coat of arms represents the Red Dragon. In Revelation 13:1, and the dragon stood on the sand of the seashore. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns, 7 heads, and on his horns were 10 diadems, and on his heads were blasphemous names. And the dragon gave him his power, and his throne, and great authority. Now, of significance to that is that at his coronation in 1969, and we're talking about Prince Charles, the father, he sat on a chair with a large red dragon emblazoned on it. During the ceremony, his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, said, "This dragon gives you your power, your throne, and your own authority." His response to her was, and I quote, "I am now your liege man and worthy of your earthly worship." Liege is an Old English word meaning Lord, meaning I am now your Lord man and worthy of your earthly worship. And also, as you can see here, the crest of the Knights Templar is showing the same symbols as did Prince Charles when he received this coronation. So, the origin and meaning of the red dragon symbol goes beyond the coat of arms. You see it here in the flag of Wales, the red dragon, and that means the place of the strangers or foreigners. That is, as in the tribe of Dan, importing themselves to Wales. And then you see it on the airplane of Wales, the same red dragon. And then we see it in the 1953 Royal Badge of Wales. And notice that there is a circle around the dragon that gives the letters Y, Drag, Gach, Deidre, Situin. And it means the red dragon should go forward. This is the unofficial Welsh national motto. Sometimes it is described as the red dragon will rise again, or the red dragon will lead the way. And I believe this is all symbolic of what is to come in the time of tribulation with the Antichrist. As you look in detail now at the seal of Prince Charles, the father, here's what you see in detail. But let's first look at the text, Revelations 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And then Revelation 13:1. Then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, and on his horns were the 10 diadems, and on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were those of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And so as you look at Prince Charles, the father, his seal, his coat of arms, you notice that the crown actually is shown here in 7 places, and they're all numbered. You see it in the lion figure. You see it above that represents the sun, Prince William. You see the crown of the face. You see the crown on the unicorn. You see the crown in the center of the shield, and you see 2 more crowns below. There are your 7 heads with 7 crowns. Also, we discussed how in this text that the beast would resemble a leopard, and which this does by its length and its thinness as compared to a lion. It has the feet of a bear, and if you look at the feet, those are bare feet, and it has the mouth as a lion, and it certainly has a lion's mouth. So let's focus on the lion, leopard, bear beast on the left. Notice there are 3 parallel horns on his neck, which are, in a manner of speaking, plucked out by the roots, which means turned upside down. Then come to the center photo. The helm, which is the face, has 7 curved bars or horns. These 7 horns, along with the 3 horns from the eldest son, lion, at the top, make a total of 10 horns in the head region. And from Daniel 7 verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. So as you can see in the first 2 photos, we have numbered the 3 additional horns to the 7 that already existed in the previous slide. Now let's take a look at the eyes of a man in the horn. Over on the next photo is the unicorn. In heraldry, the unicorn's eyes are round and black. There are no visible eye whites. Queen Elizabeth's heraldic unicorn is depicted just like that, no visible eye whites. But Charles's design, here shown, has the eyes shaped more like those of a human, with noticeable eye whites. Daniel 7:8, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man. Also in heraldry, this unicorn represents not only Scotland, but also a counterfeit Christ. Let's take it further. The unicorn of the prince. The constellation Monarchy, which is the unicorn, is in the winter's great triangle, as you see above in the skies, formed by the bright stars Betelgeuse, Sirius, and Procyon. Monarchy is on the celestial equator between Orion, which is where God comes through, and Hydra, which is where the dragon is, and it contains exactly 66 naked eye stars. Monarchy forms the square and the compasses. The square is at 90 degrees and the compass is at 55 degrees. In ancient Egypt, the plumb rule was called a merket. The merket was used in conjunction with a plumb line to measure the positions of stars and their corresponding positions on the ground in Egypt. Our winter sky is dominated by Orion, but the creature that is following him, tracking his every movement across the celestial sphere, mimicking him, is Monarchy, the unicorn. And who does the unicorn represent? Prince Charles and Prince William. In the photo to the left, which is a hieroglyph, the horn of Monarchy points to the silver gate of man, and Enki, who is in this hieroglyph, is stepping in the direction of where the unicorn horn is pointing, and you see his foot on top of the unicorn horn, and he has a bird in his hand. The bird is the constellation Corvus, Latin for raven or crow. It sits on the tail of Hydra, the sea dragon, as you can see above, and it includes 11 stars visible to the naked eye. It belonged to Apollo, that is the bird, Apollo the god of light, which the Bible calls Apollyon the destroyer. Enki is the one of the four gods known as the Anunnaki, who were Sumerians. Anunnaki were associated with the Nephilim giants of the Bible. And then, up above, his left foot is on the horn of the unicorn, as if he is rising up from the unicorn out of the waters. The ancients believed that the Milky Way was the celestial river in the heavens, and Monoceros is on the celestial equator of the Milky Way. The Winged Savior. Prince Charles was presented with a model of the sculpture unveiled on March the 6th, 2002, and Prince Charles was here called the Winged Hero. It is a giant bronze statue of Prince Charles as a winged hero, quote-unquote, saving the world. It is to become the centerpiece of a remote Amazonian town in Brazil. And then there are many identifiers of Prince Charles relative to the number 666, the number of the beast, the number of the Antichrist. And here they are. 8 in number. Charles, in English and French, comes from the Germanic name Karl, which was derived from a Germanic word which meant man, for it is the number of a man, that is the 666. Prince Charles was granted his heraldic achievement, or coat of arms, at the age of 13, the occult number. The red dragon of Wales, under which he serves, Ichi Dien, means I serve, and he pronounced that at his coronation. He claims descent from Israel's King David, Jesus, and Islam's Muhammad, as well as the tribe of Dan, and all of those are in the lineage of Christ. But this is the Antichrist. 4. He will be the first living member of the royal family to have a life-size statue dedicated in his honor in Brazil as Savior of the world. 5. He was born in 1948, the same year that Israel became a modern nation. 6. His name can be calculated to the numerical value of 666 by the ancient Hebrew method in both English and in Hebrew. 7. His coat of arms shows the past emperors of the Roman Empire of iron, leopard, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion. And 8. Prince Charles has declared that as king, he will be known as the defender of faith, that is, as in all faiths, bringing them together. So, the coming world leader, commonly known as the Antichrist, has 33 titles in the Old Testament and 13 in the New Testament. How interesting. 33 has become the Masonic highest order number, and it is a number of sacrifice, and 13 is the occult number. Daniel reveals a second prince who shall later arrive. With Daniel 9:26, we have a specific reference to the prince that shall come after the Messiah is cut off. A prince whose people are not only associated with the destruction of the city, that is Jerusalem, and the sanctuary, that is the Holy Temple, but who are also associated with wars and desolations unto the end. This prophecy is referring to a future time when the Antichrist, often referred to as the little prince, the little horn, and later as king, rises out of the empire which was once ancient Rome and now Europe, taking his rightful seat of authority, the power of his kingship, and the crown of the red dragon. So note that the eldest son, lion, is around the neck of the dragon. You see that? Those 3 lines around the neck of the dragon, thus associating Prince William with his father, Prince Charles, and the dragon. Prince William will become the Prince of Peace. Daniel 11:22, the overflowing forces will be flooded away before him and shattered, and also the Prince of the Covenant. After an alliance is made with him, he will practice deception, and he will go up and gain power with a small force of people. In a time of tranquility, He will enter the richest parts of the realm, and he will accomplish what his fathers never did, nor his ancestors. He will distribute plunder, booty, and possessions among them, and he will devise his schemes against strongholds, but only for a time. So when it says he will accomplish what his fathers never did, nor his ancestors, it is most likely referring to the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem in a supposed time of peace. And that is why in the Denver mural above, he is holding what was a sword of war, what has been turned into a symbol of peace. So today, the unicorn is a symbol adopted by New Agers to represent a great world leader whom they expect to bring world peace to the earth.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hacking the Headlines. I hope you all are doing well out there. I wanted to cover this story because it was just too strange not to cover. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, Kate Middleton, who is of course the wife of Prince William, she gave birth to her new baby a few days ago, and when she came out to reveal the baby to the world, she just so happened to be wearing the same exact dress that Rosemary wore in Rosemary's Baby. So this is certainly not a coincidence in my opinion. I don't think there's any way this was accidental. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Rosemary's Baby is a very famous movie that was made in the late 1960s, and it was about this woman who was played by Mia Farrow, Rosemary. It was about this woman, Rosemary, who was unknowingly impregnated by Satan and then went on to carry and give birth to the Antichrist. And this is the dress they put Kate Middleton in. So I'm not sure what message they're trying to send here. Maybe this is just a practical joke, an inside joke, and they're just doing it to get a reaction from people. Or maybe they're really trying to send a message with all this. Maybe they're really trying to tell us that this is the Antichrist who was just born. I mean, I know a lot of us in the community, we believe, especially if you read the Bible, we believe that we are living in the end days as prophesied in Revelation, and that would mean the Antichrist is due to show up on the scene at any time now. So is this him? Was the Antichrist just born and this is their way of telling us? I mean, I don't know, but I do know this was not an accident. That much I am sure of. So for whatever reason, they decided to put her in the same exact dress as the woman who gave birth to the Antichrist. So I'm just going to go through this article a little bit so you can get an idea of what people are saying about it. It says, introducing newborn Prince Louis to the world on the stairs of Linda Wing at St. Mary's Hospital on April 23rd. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge appeared overjoyed to present their third child. In the wake of the happy news, Twitter commentators have devilishly likened Duchess Kate's dress to that of Rosemary Woodhouse in the 1968 horror flick Rosemary's Baby. And then it says, while some described the similarity between the scarlet long-sleeve frocks with white lace Peter Pan collars as discomforting, wondering if the public should be a little bit concerned, others with a darker sense of humor declared the new mom's look as magic and awesome. Okay, so here's just another picture of them together. You can see the similarity. One person wrote, Kate Middleton rocking the same dress as Rosemary from Rosemary's Baby is definitely not discomforting at all. Okay, then another person wrote on Twitter, Kate wearing the same frock as Rosemary did in Rosemary's Baby. Should we be a little bit concerned? LOL. And then another person says, the only thing I will say about Royal Baby is they put Kate Middleton in the Rosemary's Baby dress, and that is magic. So it's magical for a person to wear the dress that the woman wore when she was giving birth to the Antichrist. Okay. And then another person says, I am not an opinion haver on the subject of Kate Middleton, but I fervently hope the Rosemary's Baby frock was on purpose, and if it was, she is awesome. Yes, again, it is awesome to wear the same dress as the woman wore when she was giving birth to Satan. That is awesome. It says, he chose you, honey, from all the women in the world to be the mother of his only living son, another quipped, in a nod to both a line from the spooky film and the high-profile romance of the future leaders of the British monarchy. All right, so yeah, I mean, I guess some people are saying that it was just a, to pay respect to Princess Diana, who wore kind of a similar dress, they're saying, but I don't really think this dress is very similar to the Rosemary's Baby one. I mean, it is the same color, but that's about it. That's about the only similarity there is. It says, the so-called faux pas was likely an accident. Yeah, I'm sure it was just an accident. Has Duchess Kate reportedly intended to pay homage to her late mother-in-law, Princess Diana, with the outfit. Again, there's almost no similarity between those two dresses, but anyway. It says, the late royal stepped out in the same stairs of the Lindo Wing in 1984 in a red and white ensemble upon the birth of Prince Harry. Style critics immediately linked the look to Kate's custom Jenny Packham frock, whatever. It says, whether Kate's loyal fans love or loathe the look, her next major public style, blah, 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 blah. Okay, who cares? So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I also wanted to point out that, you know, it's always a big club. They're always paying homage to other people in the club. Rosemary's Baby was directed by Roman Polanski, of course, and Roman Polanski is a convicted child rapist, and he also has plenty more accusations that he was never convicted of, but he was convicted of raping a child viciously. So Rosemary's Baby was directed by this pervert, and they always have to pay homage to, you know, the perverts in power, the ones they're always protecting and making sure they get away with all their crimes. And you know, it's Mia Farrow, who is also the mother of Dylan Farrow, and Dylan Farrow, of course, accused Woody Allen of molesting her as a child, and Woody Allen is another one who they constantly protect. You know, just another pervert in the industry who gets away with all of his crimes. I mean, Dylan Farrow gave a very detailed account of the abuse that happened between them. So I'm just going to play this little clip here from CNN so you guys can hear what I'm talking about. Now, again, this is Mia Farrow's daughter, the woman who played Rosemary. This woman, this is her daughter. So again, paying homage to all these perverts that are in the club with them, and pretty much just laughing in all of our faces that they continue to get away with it. But anyway, let's just listen to this clip real quick.
He's lying, and he's been lying for so long, and it is difficult for me to see him and to hear his voice. As I played with the toy train, I was sexually assaulted. As a 7-year-old, I would have said he touched my private parts. Mm-hmm. Why shouldn't I feel some sort of outrage that after all these years being ignored and disbelieved and tossed aside,
Okay, so that was just a little clip from Dylan Farrow's story. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think the only reason why she is now being allowed to come out and talk about it is because they're trying to take the heat off of all the other stuff that's been coming out with satanic ritual abuse. So this is a way for them to be able to control the narrative and make sure people's eyes and ears are on this stuff rather than the satanic ritual abuse stuff. You know, it's controlled opposition. It's pretty simple. But yeah, I'm not sure what the message is they were trying to send here. Maybe this is the Antichrist that was just born. It could be. That is absolutely a possibility, in my opinion. Or it could just be them messing with us and kind of seeing what people would say about it and seeing what kind of reaction they could get. But who knows? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think this meant? I mean, in my mind, there is no way this is a coincidence. There's no way she just accidentally wore this dress. So I definitely think it was on purpose, but I'd like to hear what you think. Do you think the Antichrist was just born and this is their way of telling us? Or do you think something else is going on here? But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be making another video very soon, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, everyone, take care out there, and God bless.
Hi, you guys. I wanted to talk about Serco. It's a company. Many of you are probably familiar with it because Obamacare has been taken over by Serco. They took over the contracts, the Obamacare contracts. I'm telling you, they're telling you exactly who is in control subliminally over that Obamacare and over everything else. It is Prince William. They're telling you right in your face, but most of you aren't looking. Okay, I'm gonna go to the Times. Serco beats U.S. rivals to Obamacare contract. The Times is a major news outlet. Serco beats U.S. rivals to Obama contract. There it is. A British company has beaten off American competition to become a major partner in the delivery of President Obama's health care insurance. Prince William is rising. He is coming to power. He has power over Obamacare. And not only does he have power, he's among the first people to have a microchip implanted in his body. His right hand is implanted with an RFID chip or a microchip. If you don't believe me, look it up. He has been chipped. Their goal is to deceive you. They want to cause mass deception. So again, for those of you who have been talking about Obamacare being taken over by Serco, there's a reason for it. It has to do with this man right there. Right there, Prince William. Wake up, you guys. Time is at hand.
The propagation of this race that is controlling things on this planet they're called the Illuminati. And the Illuminati are actually run by these 13 bloodlines, which are all of the royal families in Europe and in England. And they need the blood because they are, in fact, not human. They take human shape. They are reptilians. And they need the blood. The blood helps them maintain their reptilian shape, and it helps them maintain their sanity, and it helps them to live in this world because they are not from this world.
Prince William would kill his first stag on his grandmother's Berkhold estate, aged 14. After which the head stalker, Sandy Masson, bloodied the boy in an initiation rite that followed the royal slaughter. Sadly, using a high-velocity rifle to size up a trophy stag with the telescopic sights adjusted for him by a ghillie doesn't quite match the mystique of plucking a sword from a stone.
A legend is sung
of when England was young, and knights were brave and bold. The good king had died, and no one could decide who was rightful heir to the throne. It seemed that the land would be torn by war, or saved by a miracle alone. And that miracle appeared in London town. The sword in the stone.
So Merlin may have absented himself from this inaugural ritual. He may also have withheld his magic when Charles took William to Gloucestershire's Beaufort hunt and urged him to watch a kill. For the English fox, as native to Merlin's soil as its ancient oaks, may take precedence over Sacs, Coburg, Goths. We must not let daylight in upon the magic, warned Walter Bagot. The Victorian was fearful people might see through it. But royalists still strive to extend his warning to the present, though there's less magic in monarchy than ever. For just as with emperors and czars, the magic is manufactured. Royal figures with a high profile due to saturation publicity are people pretending to be state symbols and often go mad. In the same way zoo animals can die from being stared at. The present heir has famously said he'd wish to be reincarnated as one of his mistress's sanitary products, much as George III shook hands with a tree in Windsor Great Park, thinking he was speaking to the King of Prussia. Princess Alexandria of Bavaria said she'd swallowed a grand piano as a child, and believed this until she died. King Ludwig II of Bavaria would swear day was night and night was day, citing a moon he had painted on the ceiling as proof. Prince Otto, his younger brother, decided that the only way to keep his sanity while Ludwig was reigning was to shoot a peasant a day. So he shot them in the garden, then would wonder why his garden was overgrown. Catherine the Great locked up her hairdresser for over 3 years to stop him spreading the news she had dandruff. Prince Philip of Calabria was infatuated by pairs of gloves, wearing up to 16 pairs of silk ones at once. King Charles VI of France was convinced he was made of glass, and he'd refused to travel by carriage in case the wheel's vibrations caused his body to shatter into millions of transparent splinters. King Henry Christophe of northern Haiti liked forcing his royal guards to prove their loyalty by marching them off cliff tops, while Henry executed those who refused. Queen Joanna of Spain went insane when her husband Philip died, and she wouldn't allow him to be buried, but had his coffin accompany her wherever she travelled, caressing his mummified flesh at mealtimes.
Another propaganda Oscar winner, The King's Speech, focused on the Queen's father, King George VI, and his speech impediment. The movie failed to mention royal inbreeding as a cause of his disability. Monarchy movies sell the belief that the royals are sensitive, caring, human, and deserving of worship and taxpayer support. In mid-October of 1964, kissing cousins Elizabeth and Philip paid a royal visit to a Catholic residential school for Aboriginal children in Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada. William Coombs was 12 years old at the time of the royal visit. "I was an inmate at the Kamloops school when we were visited," said Coombs. "I remember it was strange because they came by themselves, no big fanfare or nothing. But I recognized them, and the school principal told us it was the Queen. and we all got given new clothes and good food for the first time in months the day before she arrived. The day the Queen got to the school, I was part of a group of kids that went on a picnic with her and her husband and some of the priests. We went down to a meadow near Dead Man's Creek. I remember it was weird because we all had to bend down and kiss her foot, and she was wearing a white lace boot. After a while, I saw the Queen and her husband leave the picnic with 10 children from the school, and those kids never returned. They took away those 10 kids and nobody ever saw them again. We never heard anything more about them, and we never met them again even when we were older. They were all from around there, but they all vanished. The group that disappeared was 7 boys and 3 girls in age from 6 to 14 years old. They were all from the smart group in the class. 2 of the boys were brothers, and they were matey from Quesnel. Their last name was Arnoux, or Arnold. I don't remember the others, just an occasional first name like Cecilia, and there was an Edward. What happened was also witnessed by my friend, George Adolph, who was 11 years old at the time and a student there too. But he's dead now. William Coombs, the sole survivor, was scheduled to appear as the star witness at the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State in London, England. But William Coombs never made it to the tribunal. He died of unknown causes shortly before he was scheduled to testify. Reverend Kevin Annett, a former minister of the United Church of Canada, believes that William Coombs was murdered to stop him from speaking out about the royal abductions and other crimes of murder and torture that he had witnessed at the school.
In a nutshell, what happened was I was letting people speak from the pulpit about the crimes they'd seen in the residential school, the murders and that. I also found out about the land deals that were happening where the church was selling off native land to big logging companies for kickbacks. And I wrote a letter about that to the church. I was fired without cause and eventually thrown out of the church without any due process at all. But that one thing led to another, and I began to work a lot more with the survivors after that, the eyewitnesses to these crimes.
The Queen and Philip's trip to Canada isn't the only shopping trip they took in the 1960s. In 1961, the couple went on another shopping spree, not for children this time, but for tigers and elephants. Only a few short months before Prince Philip launched the World Wildlife Fund, he landed in Jaipur, India, with the Queen. The royal pair slipped into matching safari jackets and journeyed into India's Rajasthan jungle. A Bengal tiger was lured into the crosshairs of Philip's hunting rifle by tying a group of goats together as prey.
Oh, by Jove, there's a big fella!
Philip shot and killed the defenseless animal, which is on the endangered species list and is facing extinction. Ian MacPhail, the World Wildlife Fund's first international appeals director, told a British TV crew that Philip shot and killed a mother elephant while her orphan calf ran off in terror. Prince Philip co-founded the World Wildlife Fund in 1961 with former Nazi SS officer Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands. Bernhard also helped found the Bilderberg group of politicians, royals, and banksters who meet annually for secret talks.
Prince Philip, a couple of months before the WWF was founded in 1961, went on a hunt, a tiger hunt, in northern India and slaughtered a bunch of tigers. Now, of course, the tiger is precisely what they're saying is going extinct. The Indian tiger is going extinct now. Now, there's a total uproar around the world. about Prince Philip killing all these tigers. So as he continued on his travels, he put a bandage on his trigger finger. And he participated in another hunt, but with this big bandage there, so I can't possibly shoot anything. Now he and Queen Elizabeth with her home camera whirring away, mounted as part of a broader party 300 elephants, and they went out to kill more tigers and other species. Now Prince Philip, as the elephants started closing in on various kinds of game, a extremely rare Indian rhinoceros, of which there were only 250 in the whole world at that time, came within the circle of elephants. All of the royal party were horrified because they knew that Prince Philip would shoot it. So various people tried to shoot near the rhino to scare him away, etc. As the rhino kept blundering on, Prince Philip took aim and bam. The WWF at its founding in 1961 took under its wing, in particular, the African elephant, the African rhino, the Indian rhino, the panda, and a few others. Now, the African elephant had a population of about 3 million when the World Wildlife Fund was founded. Today, it's several hundred thousand. The African rhino had a population of 100,000. Today, it is virtually extinct in the wild. The last living rhino herd in the wild, 700 rhinos, was destroyed by the WWF. It was slaughtered when they paid for it, and the ones that weren't slaughtered were drugged and were sent off to game farms in Australia, the United States, and elsewhere among Prince Philip's cronies in the 1001 Club. That's why there's no rhinos left in the wild to speak of, because Prince Philip and his gang killed them all.
When it comes to blood sports, it's an all-in-the-family affair, like father, like son, like grandson. On a trip to Kenya, Africa, Prince William took lessons in spearing African wildlife from a Maasai tribal member. According to a Fox News report, Prince William drove a 7-foot-long spear into a small antelope and killed it. Prince William recently purchased 250 birds, pheasants, ducks, and partridges, not as pets, but as shooting targets. As the birds were set free, William shot them out of the sky like skeet at the Queen's Sandringham estate. Prince William and Daddy Charles set packs of bloodhounds after foxes in Highgrove. It's jolly good fun chasing after terrorized foxes on horseback and watching the bloodhounds tear them to shreds. The World Wildlife Fund was not created to save endangered wildlife species. On the contrary, it has made a fortune from the illegal ivory trade which it was supposed to prevent. Philip and Bernhard's World Wildlife Fund raised massive funds from corporations and public donations. They used the funds to confiscate huge tracts of land all over the world. The fund is being used as a land and power grab. The royal family's green policies have pushed native people off their ancient lands, shut down their farming, and caused food shortages and starvation. Saving animals and the environment is the phony excuse they use to pass international laws that advance their world government agenda. Prince Philip's son Charles is now the new president of the World Wildlife Fund, which has been renamed Worldwide Fund for Nature. It is one of the largest contributors to human and animal depopulation. The so-called conservation parks in Africa and elsewhere are covertly used to train terrorist groups and mercenaries. These paid mercenaries cross borders, start civil wars, and commit genocide in places like Rwanda and Kenya. Sadly, the trusting public have donated millions under the false illusion that they are supporting wildlife. 10 to 12 corporations run the world's food supply, which are grouped around Britain's Royal House of Windsor. The Windsor-led cartel includes Cargill, Continental, Monsanto, and Archer Daniels Midland, which dominate world grain, meat, dairy, edible oils and fats, fruits, vegetables, sugar, and spices. This cartel is hoarding food, minerals, and raw materials, and it has the power to shut down food production and export supplies worldwide.
A point on the environmental movement in general, a question for any of the environmentalists, so-called, in the panel there. Prince Philip was one of the key founders of the Green Movement. He said that if he were to be reincarnated, he'd want to be reincarnated into a deadly virus to solve the overpopulation problem. Well, the point is that the Green Movement was founded by those in the eugenics movement. This is Hitler, Nazi race science, and this will destroy Africa. Can anyone make a comment?
Prince Philip Mountbatten, alias Battenberg, and the power elite view themselves as inheritors of the earth. Culling the population through eugenics is their answer to freeing up planet Earth's resources that are being consumed what they consider racially inferior commoners and useless eaters.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I want money. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want.
The Queen is the wealthiest person on Earth. Her gold carriage alone is made of 4 tons of solid gold, worth over $370 billion at today's gold prices. Until 1992, the Queen's income was all tax-free. In 1977, the Bank of England Nominees Limited was established to hide the Queen's investments. Secrecy about her wealth protects her from a public lynching. Government and banking officials inform the Queen about where to invest her wealth. That's called insider trading, and it's illegal. But the Queen gets away with it scot-free. Why? Because she's the Queen, and she's immune to prosecution. The Queen owns more than 300 residences, including castles and palaces, crown jewels, over 27,000 masterpieces, prize racehorses, and a fleet of Bentleys and Rolls-Royces. Her colossal wealth also includes crown land and investments that she inherited from her black nobility ancestors. The Queen's Crown estate includes over 50% of the UK's coastline, as well as Regent Street and Windsor Great Park. Her trillions in wealth are passed down to her descendants, untaxed. Would British tourism collapse if the monarchy was abolished? No, statistically, Buckingham Palace doesn't even make the top 20 list of tourist attractions. When the Queen's parasitical income from British taxpayers was reduced, she pretended to share the suffering of commoners from austerity programs. That drop in taxpayer income was a teeny-tiny drop in the royal bucket.
Those of you who've heard of the Bilderbergers might have heard the fact when Prince Philip actually said that he wants to get rid of 85% of the population. He said that if it doesn't happen in his lifetime, he wants to come back as a virus and do the job himself. No. He wants to get rid of these he called useless food eaters. Well, I'm telling you firsthand, they're the bloody useless food eaters. They couldn't put a nail in a piece of wood or fry an egg to save their life. Yeah! Do you know how much the Queen is worth? 17 trillion pounds. That's $30 trillion. She could end world hunger and poverty tomorrow. Instead, she just sits in her ivory tower and laughs at us. This is coming to an end.
$30 trillion? Of the billions of families on planet Earth, how did this one family manage to collect and hoard most of the world's wealth over the centuries? Besides insider trading and tax-free income, the answer is the slave trade and drug trade. Author Nick Hazelwood traces the slave trade to Queen Elizabeth I, who sent Captain John Hawkins to collect human slaves using any means necessary. Queen Elizabeth I started the British slave trade in 1564. As head of the Church of England, her slave trading of African blacks upset the moral foundations of the church. Queen Elizabeth II is now head of the Church of England. 200 years after the slave trade was abolished, the Church was pressured into confessing its horrific crimes and apologizing for profiting from the African slave trade. At first, the Queen and the Church only admitted to owning slaves and plantations, but the public soon discovered that the Church had given their blessing to something far worse. The Church had approved the beating, mutilation, rape, kidnapping, and murder of tens of millions of Africans by declaring that Africans had no soul. This gave the Church a divine license to profit from their diabolical crimes. Queen Elizabeth I was Britain's first slave trader and the head of the Church of England. Today, the public is demanding that Queen Elizabeth II remove Queen Elizabeth I from the crypt in Westminster Abbey. Even more lucrative than Queen Elizabeth's slave trade was Queen Victoria's drug trade. Opium was grown and manufactured in the British-owned opium factories of British India. China banned the importation of opium, but once the British monarch secured a drug trade monopoly, over 17,000 illegal chests of opium worth millions were forced onto the Chinese population. The British waged 3 drug wars on China to force them to pay for the illegally imported opium. China's emperor didn't stand a chance against the British East India Company gunboats and Royal Navy. The British destroyed, plundered, looted, and raped their way along the coast of China until there was nothing left to loot or plunder. On August 29, 1842, the Treaty of Nanking forced the Chinese government to pay £15 million to the British merchants, to open up its ports to opium trade, and to cede Hong Kong to the British. This was the ugly origin of Hong Kong's 155 years as a stolen British Crown colony.
There are people who believe that they have a God-given right to rule over others. They believe that their outward appearance is superior to all others. They harbor selfish ambitions to be rich and to have power over what they describe as common people. They lie, cheat, steal, strangle, stab and slash their way to power. They believe that their actual willpower, what the British occultist Aleister Crowley described as the will of Thelema, the royal will, must be obeyed. Literally millions of people have been slaughtered at the behest of the royal lust for war, and thousands of people have been assassinated so that demonic dukes and killer queens can reign supreme. This cabal of crowned killers use the global network of secret societies, loosely described as the Illuminati, to do their bidding and killing. The conspiratorial view of history is the correct view of history. Conspiracy to grab property, conspiracy to make illegal profits, and conspiracy to assassinate has been the driving force behind the royal political elite for thousands of years. For the crowned killers of Europe, torture, disemboweling, hanging, burning, strangling, poisoning, and killing in the most satanic manner is the order of the day. This is the modus operandi of royal families. For centuries, the royal elite have devised terrible punishments for anyone accused of treason. The monarchy reserved the most disgusting forms of torture and death for those who questioned the royal will. A so-called traitor would often have each arm and leg tied to 4 horses, which were whipped to gallop in opposite directions, thus ripping the victim into 4 parts, whilst still alive.
Medical and personal history and can track you anywhere on the planet. It is capable of enslaving the world so that no one can buy or sell or even participate in society without being marked. Prince William had an electronic chip implanted in his right hand in 1995. Let's take another look at the AP photos released by Buckingham Palace of William holding a lamb like Jesus. Notice how William is symbolically holding up the cloven hoof of the lamb. Satan is commonly illustrated with cloven hooves. Prince William is being promoted as the Lamb of God, like Jesus, in the Associated Press photo. Art and literature describe the Antichrist as handsome and charming and a master of lies and deception. Why is Prince William holding up a cloven hoof in the photograph? Those with knowledge of the occult understand the message in this photo, which identifies William as the Antichrist. On June 9, 2011, Prince William and Kate attended an elite royal gala event at Kensington Palace. The overhead hologram appears to be a demon eating the head off of a lamb. On July 3, 2011, Prince William and his new bride visited Canada, where protesters booed and held up signs calling them royal parasites and demanding an end to the monarchy.
This is a small, noisy demonstration.
In Quebec City, a ceremonial parade was held for the royal couple, and a goat, with gold horns and a blue jacket, was marched in front of Prince William. The billy goat is descended from Queen Elizabeth's private stock of royal goats. Billy is a nickname for William. In this photograph, Prince William is wearing a Royal Air Force patch that displays a goat head symbol. The goat head is a symbol for the goat of Mendes, which represents Satan and the Antichrist. The Baphomet is another name for the goat of Mendes. It is the deity that is worshipped by the Knights Templar. Today, the Baphomet pentagram is the official symbol of the Church of Satan. In black magic, the Baphomet is the source and creator of all evil. It is portrayed as half human, half goat. This symbol can be traced from ancient Sumer in Egypt right through to its global use today in modern witchcraft. The ancient Sumerians made clay tablets describing the extraterrestrial god Enki, who genetically engineered the human race with his demon seed. The symbols for Enki and Satan are the same, the goat and the snake. The goat symbol played an important role on September 11, 2001. George W. Bush was reading a story about a pet goat to a group of school children when he was informed that a second plane had hit the World Trade Center and that America was under attack. Look closely. The book held by the president is upside down. Why? Because Satanism inverts images. Bush remained seated for 7 minutes and kept reading about the goat, while Americans were burning alive and leaping to their death from the burning towers. In most tarot card decks, the devil card shows the Baphomet sitting on an altar above 2 naked human demons chained to his seat. He is holding a flaming torch in his left hand that is inverted towards the earth. On his forehead is an upside-down pentagram. When points on a pentagram point upwards, they symbolize the devil attacking the heavens with its horns. The horned hand signal is a satanic salute that communicates an allegiance to Satan. The extended index and small fingers symbolize the horns of Satan. The Antichrist or beast is clearly identified in biblical prophecy as the number 666. When Prince William is crowned king, his formal title will be King William V. Hidden within his name are the words I am. Also hidden within his name is the number 666 in Roman numerals. The Roman numeral I appears 3 times in his name. The Roman numeral V also appears 3 times in his name. The letter W is really 2 V's placed side by side. The number 666 in Roman numerals is VI, VI, VI. It is hidden in the name King William V, and so are the words I am. The hidden message built into his name is I am 666. I am the Antichrist. What hymn did the ruling family sing on William's wedding day in Westminster Abbey? The flag-waving public were too hypnotized by the fairy tale media hype to even question why a hymn called Jerusalem was featured at William's wedding. Here are the main lyrics of the hymn. Why are the ruling families singing about the fight to build Jerusalem at William's wedding of the century? The answer lies in the UK's Union Jack flag. No one has bothered to question why the Union Jack flag is called the Union Jack. Who is Jack? The answer is Jack-Ub. Jack-Ub, or Jacob, is the patriarch of the Jews. According to biblical scripture, Jacob laid his head on a stone and dreamt about a ladder reaching to heaven. The stone is said to be the same stone that has been placed beneath the throne chair of every British monarch during their coronation ceremony. It's called the Stone of Jacob. The Stone of Jacob will also be placed beneath William's throne chair when he is crowned king. Most of us were taught revisionist history in school. To make sense out of what's going on in the world today, we need to learn a few simple facts about Israel's history without the revisions. According to the Bible story, Jacob fathered 12 Hebrew sons who invaded the land of Canaan. Canaan was the homeland of the Philistine people. After defeating the Philistines, the 12 Hebrew tribes carved up the land of Canaan into 12 tribal districts. They renamed the land of Canaan Israel, Israel, after their gods, Isis, Amun-Ra, and Elohim. By 69 AD, Roman soldiers burned the city of Jerusalem to the ground and destroyed the Hebrew Temple of Solomon. all that remained of the Jewish temple was a wall, which still stands today in the city of Jerusalem. After the 12 Hebrew tribes fled from the land of Canaan, which they had renamed Israel, the Romans gave the land back to the Philistines and called it Palestine. Palestine was the Romanized word for Philistine. Today, the descendants of the Philistines are the Palestinians of Palestine. Where did the 12 tribes of Israel go after they fled from the land they had renamed Israel? The serpent tribe of Dan became seafaring pirates. They emblazoned the symbols of the snake and dragon on their red and white flag, together with the crest of an eagle. According to Bible prophecy, the Antichrist will descend from the tribe of Dan. Carvings of snakes and dragons on their ships, the red and white stripes on their sails, and archaeological relics reveal that the tribe of Dan became the dreaded Vikings. These ferocious seafaring pirates raped, burned, and looted their way up the coast of Europe into the British Isles, incorporating the name of their tribal leader Dan into towns and rivers along their migration route, like the mighty river Danube and the Jordan River. Since vowels were interchangeable in the original Hebrew language, Dan could be pronounced Din, Don, or Den. It was embedded in the name London, Scandinavia, Sweden, and Denmark. Denmark literally means the mark of Dan. By 1016 AD, the Viking king Canute seized the throne of England, Denmark, and Sweden. Today's British royalty are descended from the serpent tribe of Dan and from the Viking kings whose symbol is the dragon. Prince Charles' coat of arms displays a red dragon and the German words Ich dien, which means I serve. I serve the red dragon. I serve Satan. Prince William's coat of arms also features a red dragon, which is partially hidden by a 3-point white label. Notice the checkered floor beneath William's wedding guests, which is a known symbol of Freemasonry. Rowan Williams, the Archbishop who married William and Kate, is a confirmed Druid member. Druid ceremonies include pagan sun worship in stone circles. Notice the sun symbolism on the back of the Archbishop's robe. Prince William and the British royal family claim descent from King David and the Jewish tribe of Judah, but the evidence shows they are descended from the tribe of Dan and the Viking kings, whose symbols are the snake and dragon. It took nearly 1,000 years for the tribes of Israel to reunite after fleeing from Jerusalem in 70 AD. They reunited in the British Isles under the flag of their Jewish patriarch, Jacob, or Jacob. It took another 1,000 years for the Jewish tribes to reclaim the land that the Romans had given back to the Philistines. How did they do it? In 1917, the British Earl of Balfour signed the Balfour Declaration, promising to give the nation of Palestine to Lord Rothschild and the Jewish Zionists. This criminal declaration was made even before the British had conquered the nation of Palestine at the end of World War I. During World War II, American corporations supplied gas, money, vehicles, and weaponry to Hitler and the Nazis. By the end of World War II, the British conquered and turned the Muslim nation of Palestine over to the Rothschild Zionists as promised. The Zionists populated the land with boatloads of Jewish refugees from Nazi concentration camps. By 1948, the name of the Muslim nation of Palestine was officially changed to the Jewish state of Israel. According to Jewish historian and best-selling author Simon Schama, the Rothschild Zionists financed illegal settlements on Palestinian land. They now own 80% of the Palestinian land that they renamed Israel. What is a Zionist? Zionists are a minority of Christian and Jewish extremists who believe that the Jews have a God-given right to the land of Israel. Why? Because according to the Judeo-Christian Bible, God said so. But wouldn't that make God a racist God who favors Jews over all others? How big is the Promised Land? God's Promised Land to the Jews extends far beyond the borders of present-day Israel. It includes Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, half of Iraq, half of Egypt, parts of Turkey and Saudi Arabia, the modern state of Israel, as well as the West Bank and Gaza. The 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center in New York City served as the perfect excuse to justify bombing, occupying, disarming, and bankrupting Israel's Muslim neighbors. It also scared hundreds of billions of tax dollars out of traumatized American citizens. 9/11 was a Zionist false flag operation. Within 24 hours of the attack, America launched a Blame the Muslims campaign that ignited the Zionist war of terror on the Muslim nations surrounding Israel. Ultimately, the grand scheme of the Zionist plot is to reclaim Jerusalem and rebuild Solomon's Temple, which was destroyed by the Romans almost 2,000 years ago. Today, Israel's Jews pray at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, which is all that remains of Solomon's Temple. The design and cornerstones for the new Solomon's Temple have already been completed.
Every day, 3 times a day, Jews recite this prayer: "May it be your will that the temple be speedily rebuilt in our own time." It's a prayer they prayed for almost 2,000 years.
But Jews here in Jerusalem are doing more than just praying. Just a few steps away from the Western Wall, rabbis and craftsmen are building what they call a temple in waiting.
We're supposed to build a temple, and nothing about that changed. Nothing about that commandment changed.
Chaim Richman is a director at the Temple Institute in Jerusalem.
The Temple Institute is actively engaged in research and preparation for the resumption of the service in the Holy Temple, to the extent of actually preparing operational blueprints for the construction of the temple according to the most modern standards.
This menorah is just one of several vessels created for the next temple. It's covered with 95 pounds of pure gold and has a price tag of $2 million.
Piece by piece, the third temple is taking shape, with priest garments, vessels of copper, gold, and silver, and a new generation of Levite priests, specially trained for temple service.
We have enough in place now to resume the divine service and to build the temple. But obviously, a lot of things have to happen in order for this to happen.
Gershon Solomon leads a group called the Temple Mount Faithful. They commissioned these cornerstones for the third temple. The 6-ton stones were consecrated with water from the biblical pool of Siloam and cut with diamonds.
The Temple Mount, 35 acres of it, is the most explosive piece of territory on the face of the planet.
Jewish leaders have already established a training center in Jerusalem where temple priests are now learning how to offer the required animal blood sacrifices and to conduct the daily temple services.
Now, of course, there's limits on exactly what sacrifices we can do because of the state of impurity that we're in. Some sacrifices we can't do without the ashes of the red heifer, but the Passover offering, national sacrifices we can perform in a state of impurity.
So what's stopping the Zionist Jews from rebuilding Solomon's Temple? What's stopping them is a Muslim shrine called Dome of the Rock, which was built in 691 AD right over the top of the ruins of Solomon's Temple. It is one of the world's holiest Muslim sites. This sacred real estate is, without a doubt, the most dangerous real estate on planet Earth. The Muslim Dome of the Rock is the elephant in the room. The Zionist plan to rebuild Solomon's temple on sacred ground must, by necessity, be a plan that reduces the Muslim Dome of the Rock to rubble. Building Solomon's temple means the Muslim shrine must fall, either by a natural disaster like an earthquake, or a man-made disaster like an exploding bomb. A man-made disaster would surely be the spark that ignites World War III.
When a British monarch is crowned, an elaborate ceremony takes place which resembles the ritual crowning of King Solomon of ancient Israel. King Solomon ruled over ancient Israel and had extensive knowledge of the Kabbalah, which he used to communicate with demons. King Solomon is the single most important figure in the occult teachings of World International Freemasonry. The ancient Goetia is a book of powerful invocations and spells written by King Solomon. These ancient spells and evocations were used to summon spirits who were then psychically tortured and forced to serve King Solomon. The Goetia contains descriptions of 72 demons, some of whom control their own army of lesser demons. King Solomon evoked and imprisoned these spirits in a bronze vessel sealed using magic symbols. The Goetia explains how the spirits can be compelled into obedience. The Goetia describes a demonic royal hierarchy of spirits, many of which are referred to as knights, princes, and kings. King Solomon ruled ancient Israel from the year 970 to 928 BC. Satanists, occultists, and Freemasons worldwide venerate the memory of King Solomon, who owned a magic ring engraved with a symbol called the Seal of Solomon. This gave him power over the invisible monarchy of demons. This Seal of Solomon is better known as the Star of David. It is this symbol which is encoded into the $1 bill. It is also the flag of Israel. Magicians and mediums who consult with spirits have always been employed by the royal elite. In medieval Britain, Dr. John Dee was consulted regularly by Queen Elizabeth I. At the British Museum in London, we see the dark mirror which John Dee used to see or scry the faces of spirits. Dee's ability to communicate with spirits led him to be employed as a spy, developing psychic espionage techniques, which we now call remote viewing. John Dee attended Trinity College in Cambridge, which became a place where occultists and the world of spies were intertwined. Aleister Crowley also attended Trinity College. In 1904, he wrote an introduction to an ancient book of spells called the Goetia. Soon after, Aleister Crowley followed the footsteps of John Dee and worked as a spy for Her Majesty's Secret Intelligence Service, MI5. Dr. John Dee was secretly initiated into the secrets of the Kabbalah by Rabbi Lowe in the 1500s. The Kabbalah offers a route map which is called the Tree of Life. Discarnate spirits, some angelic, some evil, occupy each point on the Tree of Life. These spirits can be called forth and invoked to serve the magician. Medieval astrologers and Kabbalists such as John Dee were hired by monarchs to plan their wars or to experiment with alchemy, trying to transform base metals into gold and thus increase the already spectacular wealth of the monarchy.
Once World War III has come and gone and the Muslim shrine has been destroyed, the new Jewish temple of King Solomon will be built over its ruins in Jerusalem, and a king will sit on the throne chair. There are three important texts that predict an apocalyptic Third World War, which would give rise to one world empire and one world king. The Bible's Book of Revelation, the Illuminati's Protocols of Zion, and Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. A statue of Albert Pike stands today on a pedestal in Washington, D.C. What did Albert Pike do to deserve a statue in his honor on federal land at the foot of Capitol Hill? Albert Pike was the sovereign pontiff of Universal Freemasonry and a known Satanist who possessed a bracelet which he used to summon Lucifer. After the American Civil War, he was imprisoned for treason, but thanks to Freemason President Andrew Johnson, Pike was pardoned. By 1869, Pike had become the National Chief Judiciary Officer and Grand Dragon of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan in Arkansas. By 1871, he published the Masonic handbook known as Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike was also the author of a military formula for 3 world wars that would advance the world government agenda to its final stage in the 21st century. World War I, said Pike, must be engineered to overthrow the Tsars of Russia and make Russia a fortress of atheistic communism. World War II must be engineered to destroy Nazism, strengthen political Zionism, and create a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. World War III must exploit the conflicts between the Zionist state of Israel and the Islamic states so that they mutually destroy each other. Divided and exhausted by war, the masses will receive the light of Lucifer brought finally out into the open. Albert Pike's vision for World War III is now taking shape in the Middle East, where the engineered conflicts between the Zionist state of Israel and the Islamic nations are coming to a head. Proof of a world government conspiracy is uncovered on our Seeing is Believing tour of 5 U.S. cities, starting with Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado is home to America's largest airport called the Denver New World Airport. The airport was built by Freemasons in 1995 and features a Freemasonic dedication capstone in the atrium. A time capsule is buried underneath the stone to be opened in the year 2094. The New World Denver Airport has a swastika-shaped runway. There is reportedly a deep underground military base beneath the airport, with miles and miles of secret subterranean tunnels connected to a large network of underground cities. As passengers drive up to the main airport terminal, they are greeted by a sinister-looking 32-foot-high fiberglass blue stallion, with veins popping out of its body and demonic eyes that glow bright red. Not exactly a calming influence for travelers who are already spooked about getting on a plane. The sculpture is believed to symbolize the pale horse of the apocalypse mentioned in the Bible, whose name is Death. The sculptor, Luis Jimenez, was killed by the horse when a chunk of the sculpture broke loose and came crashing down on him. Locals call the horse Blucifer. Inside the airport, travelers hurry past grotesque gargoyles in suitcases that leer down at them, and morbid apocalyptic murals that line the airport walls at the main gate. 4 panels of giant-sized wall murals in the baggage claim area tell a terrifying and prophetic story in pictures of how humanity's future is going to unfold. The first mural reveals a horrific Darth Vader-like figure wearing a Nazi general uniform and a gas mask. The gas mask indicates that the next war will use depopulating biological or chemical agents. The white dove that he is killing symbolizes peace. On the right are destroyed buildings reminiscent of the Twin Towers. The Nazi general's scimitar sword has been swished through the air, leaving behind a rainbow chemtrail that poisons the air and ethnic population below it. On the left is an endless line of weeping women refugees holding dead babies. There is no trace whatsoever of violence to the dead children, who appear to have died from the deadly gas of the toxic rainbow. Why are there no men present? Presumably, they have all been killed. The Nazi general's scimitar sword that destroys peace is a symbol used by the Shriners, who are Freemasons. Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity. Outwardly, it is a friendly charitable organization that conceals an inner brotherhood of the 33rd degree elect. The next airport mural shows a forest and a city in flames. The world's endangered animals and plants are extinct: buffaloes, whales, leopards, elephants, and sea turtles. The sickly haze and leaping flames suggest a nuclear or biochemical devastation. Children are the only survivors, and they are weeping over 3 open caskets of an African girl on the left, a native girl in the center, and a white Judeo-Christian girl on the right. They represent the death of the old black, red, and white root races to make way for the New World race. The dead white girl in the coffin holds a Bible and a yellow Juden star, which was used by the Nazis to identify Jews. It symbolizes the death of Judeo-Christian beliefs. Another child holds a Mayan tablet depicting the end of the Mayan calendar and the end of the world as we know it. In the third mural, the apocalyptic war has ended. Children of all nations are joyfully giving up their nation's sovereignty to the blonde-haired, blue-eyed German boy at the center. They are all turning over their weapons wrapped in their country's national flag to the German boy. The Bavarian jacket leaves no doubt whatsoever that the blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy is German. He symbolizes the Bavarian Illuminati. With an iron fist, the German boy destroys the weapons of war symbolized by the Nazi general's sword. The German boy uses a hammer, which symbolizes the hammer and sickle of communism. In the foreground, the Nazi general is dead, with doves of peace perched on his corpse. The German boy symbolizes a world leader and savior who brings peace through communism to a devastated world. Who is this boy that the world gives up their flags and weapons to? We know he is German, with blonde hair and blue eyes, like Prince William, who posed as a boy for this Papua New Guinea stamp. Prince William's father is the son of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth, whose surnames were changed to cover up their German identities. Prince William's mother, Diana, was allegedly the daughter of James Goldsmith, a German Jew. In the fourth mural, the earth is restored, including the endangered species, the land and water. This future world is populated not by adults, but by parentless children. What happened to the adults? The children are in a dance line that is led by the Scottish boy, who symbolizes Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Also, on the far left is an African woman carrying a snake banner. The parentless children of the world are celebrating the New World religion as they gather around and touch the light of Lucifer, who appears as a genetically engineered plant. The plant is a floral version of the colorful bird known as the Quetzalcoatl, or feathered serpent. It is symbolically inseparable from the morning star and Lucifer. The main theme of the Denver New World Airport murals is an apocalypse, with massive depopulation, extinction of species, the death of Judeo-Christian beliefs, and the birth of one world government, one world ruler, and one world religion. The next stop on our Seeing is Believing tour is Charlotte, North Carolina, where the headquarters of America's largest bank is located, the Bank of America. Here we find more eerie, bone-chilling paintings describing the apocalyptic story of humanity's future in pictures. 3 prophetic frescoes are prominently displayed in the Bank of America's main lobby. Like the Denver murals, they tell a symbolic story which is understood by those in the know. In the first mural, the central figure is a blue-eyed, blonde-haired German boy wearing a Nazi overcoat, clicking his heels together and standing at attention on the checkerboard floor that is a classic symbol of Freemasonry. Who is he? He is the same boy found in the Denver airport mural, but he is older in this continuation mural. Notice the phallic hand gesture in the comparison photo of the young, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Prince William. Similarly, the boy in the mural has a subliminal erect phallus on his Nazi overcoat, symbolizing power. By erasing the boy's right arm, it becomes clear that the flames of the burning bush are shaped like a hand, and the bush itself is shaped like an arm that is positioned at the boy's shoulder. It now becomes obvious that the German boy is making a straight-arm Nazi salute. Prince William's Knight of the Garter crest is a gold lion. The image of the gold lion is subliminally embedded into the blonde hair of the German boy in the mural. Notice the Egyptian pyramid and black sun behind him. The second fresco in the Bank of America's lobby is an apocalyptic concentration camp where resistors are incarcerated. In the background, industrial burning suggests a crematorium. The back and side wall are strung with barbed wire. Hazmat Marines carrying rifles are seen in the crowd with their Nazi gold eagle and flags. Notice the person wearing the white hazard protection gear. The hazard protection gear symbolizes a pandemic, biochemical, or nuclear warfare. This is the same apocalyptic theme found in the Denver mural, in which the Nazi general is wearing a gas mask. Overhead, the elite are hovering and celebrating like gods, circling free and naked in their wealth and power. They are energized by the chaos below, where the world population is trapped in their net. All races and creeds are caught in the net of riots and protests, including a Catholic bishop, a nun, and a handcuffed man. The protest signs are blank, implying they have no voice. The street signs are also blank, implying there is nowhere to go. The last fresco has a mission accomplished theme. It illustrates the post-apocalyptic rebuilding era that creates order out of chaos. The red dragon in human form is etched into the hillside at the top of the fresco. He sleeps peacefully while the miners serve him. These miners are a reminder of the internationally televised Chilean mine disaster and rescue in 2010. 33 miners were rescued in a ceremonial raising of the phoenix. The ritual was an announcement to 33rd degree Masons that Lucifer is rising. The date of the rescue ritual was October 13th, 2010, which is 13-10-10. 13-10-10 adds up to 33. Where did the Chilean president travel to the day after the rescue ritual? Buckingham Palace. He personally delivered a mine rock to the Queen that had been raised from the mine as a symbol of the risen phoenix.
This president has met the Queen at London's Buckingham Palace.
I've got a gift for you. This is a piece of rock that was brought by a miner.
Sebastian Pinera presented the monarch with a souvenir from the San Jose mine, where 33 of his countrymen were trapped for 69 days. Mr. Pinera, who was given 33 bottles of real ale by David Cameron, said the rock was brought up by the second miner to be rescued.
The prophetic murals that are featured at America's largest airport and America's largest bank express a New World Order agenda that is hidden in plain sight. The giant images on display for all to see are designed to be understood only by a few. The commissioned murals share common themes: an apocalypse, a new world order, and a central figure who is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed German boy. The next stop on our Seeing is Believing tour is Ellerton, Georgia.
Next, we turn to the town of Elberton, Georgia, the granite capital of the world. Elberton is famous for its production of tombstones, exporting some 250,000 tombstones every year. Oddly enough, the town that makes a living through death is also the home of what some consider the most threatening monument in America. A monument that some believe is a symbol for the coming Holocaust, promoting a depopulation effort at a massive scale.
It was back in 1979 when a stranger came to Elberton, Georgia. Now, Elberton, Georgia is on the eastern part of Georgia, very close to the South Carolina border. And this stranger said that he was part of a secret group, and they wanted to build a great granite monument.
This was done by a guy who gave a pseudonym, came in, paid cash, had this company set these things up in 1980, called himself R.C. Christian, but that's not his real name. It says right on the stones, a pseudonym.
Nobody knows his real name because that isn't his real name. Nobody knows who put the money up other than this fictional individual. Nobody knows what secret group he represents. Of course, Elberton mines granite. They make tombstones there, and they have the facilities to mine the granite. But he gave very, very specific directions as to how this was to be built, so that it would always be aligned in certain ways, so you'd always be able to see the North Star, so it would be aligned with the moon and with the various phases of the sun. and very, very similar to the Stonehenge that they have in England. So the Stonehenge was a Druidic monument. This was to be the American Stonehenge, or it's known as the Georgia Guidestones. And on each one of the Guidestones is this message in a different language, actually 8 different languages. Are the 10 commandments that come from the dark side. And the first one is maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature, which doesn't sound too bad until you realize that we've got over 6 billion people in the world. And if we're going to maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature, we're going to have to kill off about 90% or more of the world's population.
Like the Masonic dedication stone at Denver Airport, which has a time capsule buried beneath it, the Georgia Guidestones also feature a capstone with a time capsule buried beneath it. New York City is the next stop on our Seeing is Believing tour. The world's largest cathedral is a New York City landmark called St. John the Divine. It was built with funding from the Grand Master of the Masons of the State of New York. Using the art style of the grotesque, this sculpture next to the cathedral features sun worship, bizarre mythical creatures, and the upside-down head of Satan. There is a John Lennon quote that says, "One day the world will live as one." On the western facade of the cathedral, stonemasons have sculpted a chilling depiction of the collapse of the Twin Towers and the destruction of New York City and its landmarks. This scene was created in 1997, 4 years before the destruction of the Twin Towers on 9/11. Other recognizable skyscrapers are the Chrysler Building and the Citigroup Center. The cathedral's pillar on the left shows the Brooklyn Bridge crumbling, cars and buses falling into the churning waters, and the Statue of Liberty sinking. Beneath this horrifying prophecy is the New York Stock Exchange, with street people selling all around it. The pillar on the right depicts the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, riding white, red, black, and pale horses that symbolize conquest, war, famine, and death. Another pillar depicts the birth of the Antichrist, who is surrounded by mummies. Below the birth is a lamb with its legs tied. The book of Revelation refers to the Antichrist as the beast, coming up out of the earth and having 2 horns like a lamb. Right below the tied lamb is a spiral vortex, symbolizing a change of consciousness. Below it are people worshiping the energy vortex of the Antichrist figure. The cathedral pillar on the left is the Jewish Kabbalah's Tree of Life. The Kabbalah is linked to the occult practices and symbolism of Freemasonry. Standing above the Kabbalistic Tree of Life is a robed man, pictured on the right. Only one eye is exposed, which symbolizes the satanic all-seeing eye. Our second stop in New York City is the United Nations headquarters, which was built in 1945 and financed largely by John D. Rockefeller. Inside UN headquarters is an ominous meditation room. The custodian of the meditation room is Lucis Trust Company. At one time, the Lucis Trust was located at 666 United Nations Plaza and was formerly named Lucifer Publishing Company. The Rockefeller-funded UN Meditation Room is 33 feet long and 18 feet wide. 18 feet is 6 plus 6 plus 6. The small, dimly lit, windowless room was built in the shape of a pyramid that is laying on its side. At the center of the room is a 4-foot-high, black, casket-shaped stone slab which weighs 6.5 tons. And is extremely magnetic and rests on a concrete pillar. The pillar descends beneath the floor into the bedrock and taps into the Earth's hyperdimensional energies to induce a state of altered consciousness. Not far from the meditation room is the United Nations Security Council chamber. This is the emergency room of the UN, where the world leaders meet when there is a threat to peace. They decide the fate of nations. Even though Israel has over 200 uninspected nuclear weapons and has violated dozens of resolutions, no sanctions are ever imposed because of the United States' veto powers. Notice the giant mural that towers over the Security Council room. The central focus of the UN mural is the phoenix bird that has risen. The phoenix bird is a symbol of Lucifer. Egyptians believed that the phoenix symbolized a god who rose to heaven in the form of a morning star like Lucifer after his fire immolation of death and rebirth. Notice that the phoenix bird is not standing above his own ashes. He is standing above his old skin. Like a snake, he has shed his old skin and is revealing himself as God at the center of the mural. At the top left, there is a church steeple without a cross. The missing cross symbolizes the death of Christianity. Below, a woman receives the rays of the sun god, while the man in front of her plays Pan's flute. To their right are two pyramid symbols and people joined together by a long blue serpent-like cloth. Below the risen phoenix, a sword is driven through a dragon beast. This represents the killing of old beliefs and religions that depicted Lucifer as a beast. The New World religion worships him as beautiful. Behind the phoenix, the ghostly figures of the walking dead are stepping into a void. They symbolize depopulation. On the right panel, the pale horse from the book of Revelation is the bringer of death to humanity through weapons, hunger, and disease. The man is releasing him. The chained black man represents slavery, while the top panel of the mural shows a technologically advanced white race who control industry, art, and science. In this post-apocalyptic mural, the military man standing on the tail of the beast represents worldwide military power. He tips his helmet to the elite, who are climbing out from underground cities where they safely hid from the apocalypse. In the main oval panel above the phoenix bird, a woman is holding flowers. She is the bride in a wedding ceremony. Who are these newlyweds that are kneeling submissively beneath the serpent in the overhead tree? Could the newlyweds symbolize William and Kate? The serpent in human form is tempting the little girl Eve, who accepts the apple. On the right side of the top panel, a reptilian green creature with scaly skin is dancing with a naked woman while musicians entertain him. The general message of the UN's Phoenix Rising mural is that humanity is stepping into a new Luciferic reality. Beneath this disturbingly prophetic mural, world leaders make global decisions that affect the lives of nearly 7 billion people. What's hard for most people to grasp is that our elected government leaders are involved in an apocalyptic scheme to enslave the masses under a world government dictatorship. How do these leaders sleep at night? How do they live with themselves?